There are good bosses, there are bad bosses, and then there are the ones who are on Undercover Boss. In the show, senior execs go undercover in their own organizations to see what's really happening. Sometimes they discover more than they bargained for and end up helping their employees in some pretty generous ways. Today, let's look at who were the most generous CEOs on Undercover Boss. First up, there's the mayor of Cincinnati. Mark Mallory was only trying to do his job better when he signed up to be on the show. He actually disguised himself in different ways to take on different government jobs.
Make sure he ain't breathing that way, you just grab him.
Just kick him?
Yeah.
He was determined to find out what had to be done to make his city better, and he knew that the only way to get honest opinions would be if people didn't know who they were talking to. So the politician went undercover to get the insider perspective. He even worked in sanitation. He got a good understanding of how things worked out, but his employees also got some pleasant surprises along the way. Surprises to the tune of almost $8,000. Mayor Mallory awarded $10,000 each to two employees. One received a gift for their hard work, and another employee got to use $10,000 towards their college tuition. He also went on to make a $10,000 donation to the city's park and recreation program. There were also some smaller but meaningful purchases he made, like buying a new winch for a truck and a GPS. But perhaps the biggest contribution made was the provision of a wheelchair-accessible van that cost more than $40,000.
And buy you a van that has a wheelchair ramp in it.
Money well spent on accessibility. He even bought a trip to New York City for an employee, complete with spending money. Now that's the boss we want. Up next is the CEO, one of North America's largest builders of telco and energy systems. Back in 2012, Jose Mas went undercover for the third season's finale. The company is a big player in the field of electric power lines, wireless infrastructure, and even renewable energy generation. What are the chances of a regular employee having an up-close and personal experience with the top guy in a giant company? Close to zero. But this really changes all that, and really lets the senior management know how the work actually happens. And more importantly, what are the kinds of struggles that people have to deal with daily? That's what convinced Mas to give back to the workers who are the engines of the company. An employee called Wendy received some $30,000. She was suffering from a condition called fibromyalgia, resulting in her needing some serious dental work, and she felt like she had lost her smile. The CEO gifted Wendy and her husband, who also worked at the company, an amount to the tune of $30,000 to get her dental work done and pay off some of their debt. There were some pretty sweet things he did along the way, like paying $20,000 for an employee's wedding. But that wasn't enough. He even gave them another $25,000 to provide care for his fiance's sister. But the most meaningful gesture was the setting up of an annual scholarship fund of $25,000 for an employee or even their family members. Not to mention, ADT's Chief Marketing Officer Tony Wells was also on the show, and he really got into the trenches. It was pretty interesting, given that he had only been part of the security industry for 8 months at the time of the show, so it really gave him insight into the company and the way people worked there. Wells was also new on the job at the time, and getting to know how the lower rungs of the security company lived and worked really gave him keen insight, and he ended up helping his staff on a personal and professional level. Wells spent upwards of $100,000 on his employees. First up was a $10,000 celebration for a sales team meeting their goal. And you know what? Recognition goes a long way in boosting morale. But he also made more meaningful contributions. He started a child scholarship fund of $25,000 and even donated $35,000 to one family. And then there were the little things, like helping one employee pay his bills and helping another with buying a new car. Let's take a look at the first female CEO to be featured on the show, Kimberly Schaefer. Not only was Schaefer a generous and sensitive boss, but she was also a great role model, and her own origin story is also quite inspiring. She started her career at Great Wolf Resorts in an entry-level position, and she worked her way up. Schaefer also shared that growing up, her family struggled to make ends meet. For the show, she took on the role of a stay-at-home mom returning to the workforce in her company, and through the 4 different jobs she did at the indoor water park resorts, she had some key learnings to report on. She gives one employee a promotion and creates a team for him to lead. But what was really amazing was that she offered to pay for flying lessons for the employee to help him fulfill his lifelong dream of being a pilot. The CEO also offered to pay for the time off taken by an employee who needed knee surgery. There was also a promotion and better hours to allow her to spend more time with the kids. Wholesome. The lady ended up spending more than $160,000 on the welfare of her employees after her undercover stint. But what's even better is how she delivered on helping working moms find career growth and a work-life balance. Up next is another female CEO, Carol Monson of Fast Signs. Now, this company is the biggest sign company on the planet. It's got 520 locations worldwide and a revenue stream that's worth more than $300 million a year. So, Monson was a CEO that meant business when she signed up for the show. Monson had to make many difficult decisions to keep the company going through tough financial times. She's gone through personal tragedies too. Her brother broke his neck as a teenager, becoming a quadriplegic, while her mother was a violent alcoholic who shot herself. Monson decided not to have children and become work-focused. The CEO went undercover at 4 different locations and did everything from installing signs herself and going over marketing material. And all the employees she worked with lucked out big time. One of them gets 10 grand for a honeymoon and even gets offered 50 grand for his medical bills. She gave another employee $10,000 for vacation and another 20 to pursue her passions. Another one gets $15,000 so he can spend more time with his family and another 10 for his daughter's college fund. Lastly, one of them gets 15 grand for his church, a car upgrade, and $50,000 for a new house. She spent a total of $180,000 on her employees. Coming up, Rick Foreman of one of America's fastest growing discount stores. Foreman Mills is worth more than $250 million, and its founder and CEO went back to his roots when he decided to go on Undercover Boss. And he really started at the bottom of this stint as well, cleaning bathrooms and getting told off for not doing a great job at it too. Actually, he's pretty bad at all 4 of the jobs that he does. This probably taught just how hard his employees work, and it paid off too. The CEO paid off an employee's car loan and added $5,000 to each of her kids' college funds. He also covered another employee's son's complete college tuition for the full 4 years. Quite a few workers also got some fat raises, but possibly the most touching gesture was that of Foreman offering a house valued at $250,000 for an employee who had struggled with repeated homelessness. He also got his salary doubled and a promotion too. Time to check if Foreman Mills is hiring. And lastly, the most generous CEO of them all is Stephen J. Klubeck of Diamond Resorts. All we need to say here is $2 million. Klubeck leads a company that's worth $500 million. It sells timeshare vacations all around the world. He visited some recent property acquisitions as part of his undercover boss role. The boss man learns how to repair an air conditioner, but starts an oil fire instead. And in doing some similar tasks, he basically learns how the safety equipment for his staff needs major improvement. He also got a lesson in guest intake policies. But essentially, Klubeck was so touched by the stories he heard and the people he met, he added a program that would benefit all employees of the company with a $2 million crisis fund. And that wasn't it. He gave away a ridiculous amount of money to particular employees. This was anywhere from $15,000 to pay off student loans, and $50,000 for one to help care for a disabled mother, and even a whopping $150,000 to help one pay off their mortgage. That's a wrap for this video. Which one was your favorite undercover boss? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.